correct me if I'm wrong, so we need to decide whether we feel it's more important to do the census or the, what, this, the,
Master
Oh, the
Environmental
Master Environmental
Assessment, which is a document, is a collection of data that is a prelude to an area plan.
okay, so either that, it's either that or the 500,000, of which we've had good success this last go round
Yes,
with.
we have. And to answer Jim's question, I don't have any applications right now for the business assistance program that are waiting for this money. But I've also never had to market this program either.
Yeah. That
We
was-
have
that was
received
gonna be-
applications.
That was gonna be my second
Yes.
question, and the final question is, of the two, what one would you prefer to do? What one do you feel, because you're the person that's dealing with all this, so I'd like to know what you would think would be the priority.
Well, and I'll kind of answer that.
Remember,
In addition-
your answer is being recorded and down the road, you know, whatever happens, but you told us.
Correct.
You'd like me to answer that for you?
Kind of. So also with these loans that we are making, we are going to start receiving what's called program income, which is distributed based on our program income reuse plan, and it's distributed between our housing rehab, our micro enterprise assistance, and our business lending. So if the board chooses not to go forward with the business assistance program or the micro enterprise program, we will have money to distribute within the next year to businesses that are eligible to apply. So this would
Kind of
just,
recycle.
Redistribute.
yes, to redistribute, correct.
So it's
So,
not like we're totally shut down.
Right.
correct, yes.
Bob?
Yeah, I guess how I see it, and not the only thing I see, but just to summarize it, do we want to approve money to help businesses in the community, you know, hire more people, make more jobs, part of the economic? Or do we want to put the money in a book to put on the shelf?
Yeah. I want to hear Jenna say it, that she wants to.
Well, she was trying to say it, so I helped her out.
Well, essentially, basically, what those loans do is it continues the program regardless. So if the board chose to go forward with this planning and technical assistance document, get it done in order for the general plan to be completed in the future, we would be able to still do our business lending.
If the general plan doesn't happen for 15 years, it'll sit on the shelf for 15 years.
Yeah.
Like any of the antiques, they'll throw it away and go do it.
I think the more important question is if we do decide to continue on with the business lending is a pledge to revisit the guidelines and
Do that, yeah.
And let's do the revisiting at the beginning of the 3-year or 4-year cycle rather than
Immediately.
the last year, because I think what happened is that we got down to the wire and we had to retool it, and that cut down the ability to go out and market and get. But one thing I do have to say, and I appreciate, is it's great to see some enthusiasm by staff at the podium about what they're doing in this area. We haven't had a lot of that in recent years, and I would have to give you a lot of credit for that, Jenna.
Well, it's really exciting being able to see these loans go through.
I would like to say with Jenna's enthusiasm, I would make a motion to go with option 1.
I'll second that motion.
I'll support this.
Just for discussion, if the master environmental assessment, if you were to go with option B and do that, how long would that be good for before you do the general plan?
it'd be stale in probably 3 to 5 years.
And what would the cost of the general plan be? Because that would have to come out of the general fund, right? You can't do the.
Well, not all area plans have a master environmental system, although they should. But generally speaking, it's probably $100,000 to $150,000 document.
It would have to come out of the general fund, correct?
Right, I mean, you would either hire a consultant to do it, or you would whip slaves, which are called staff, into doing it, along with their other things.
I object.
That's what I do.
That was the cost to do the area plan?
No, the MEA. We did the MEA for Westwood in-house back in the day, but there was, I think, 3 or 4 more.
I think we should.
That's the first thing I
We
did.
should strike from the record.
That's the
any
first
reference to
thing
it.
we did.
So struck. Ouch!
Anyhow, to do a general plan, Laura, you're looking at 2 mil,
Pardon me? On a area plan?
general plan. If the county was to redo the general plan.
Yeah, which is a total. We were talking about an area plan.
Right, but I mean, I'm just asking that question.
Yeah,
Possibly,
somewhere around $1 million, maybe more. It depends on who tries to
For
sue
that
us.
reason, it's not gonna happen for a long time.
Well,
Well, this is the area plan, option 2 would be
Right, it'll be an area plan, but it's gonna sit in the shelf until we do a general plan.
No, an area, this MEA, Master Environmental Assessment, is a collection of data and documents that would be something that would be used to construct an area plan,
An area plan.
a component of the general
It
plan.
replaces the one that was done back in the early 80s.
Right.
And nothing was ever adopted in North.
Westwood did their last area plan in about 2002. I
Mhm.
started it when I was appointed supervisor by Governor Willis.
But there's never been an area.
First thing I did, so I get to know the
Right.
people in Westwood, and it worked great.
Now, Supervisor Chapman's correct, there was an effort, I think, in the 80s to
84,
maybe do
83.
a MEA,
Yeah.
a collection of information, but I don't believe any
I think
effort was
the
ever
only
made
thing,
for
the only thing that came out of it was the formation of the Northwest Fire Protection District, because they kind of focused on that Deep Bench area. It had Pittville and Big Valley and things.
Because there's a Pittsburgh area plan. but
There's a Pittville area plan. This would be Census Tract 401, which we would carve out Pittville because they have a plan, or not. I mean, it would just depend. But again, this isn't a planning document per se. This is a collection of information.
Okay, so let's.
The motions on there, option one.
Yeah, all those in favor for the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
Thank you.
Okay.
Keep up the good work, Shannon.
Thank you. Thank you for letting us get more money.
You got past us, you haven't got past the state.
That's true.
I haven't
Grant
been chosen
application
yet.
to do that.
This is the hard
CSD.
one here to stay.
Yeah.
And just for the record, when will the evaluation be completed so the CSD would know if they were?
We expect to know if we were awarded funds this summer, so July, August this year. And we'll be reporting back as soon as we know.
Okay, we'll move on to item H8, Honey Lake Valley Recreation Authority.
Mr. Chairman, the city of Susanville has, or the Honey Lake Valley Recreation Authority has requested that the county be the treasurer and therefore auditor of the Joint Powers Authority. And they've also requested that the committed funds, $200,000, be transferred from the county to that JPA, but obviously would stay within the treasury. And
Well,
also,
there'd be an account set up in the treasury that would be categorized as their account.
it would be the JPA's account,
Right.
yes.
So you
Within the
can look
treasury.
out with the 26,000 that's already there.
And, well, and the second part of their request is that we transfer the pennies for the pool fund to the Joint Powers Authority
Yeah,
from the county.
but there is a provision that we did discuss at the JPA board, that those funds don't get rolled into or swallowed into the general, at 200,000, there would be a separate line item for that, so that could be tracked, so those monies can be, when they are spent, can be for specific things that the people have donated, you know, as an add-on rather than paying for like administration costs or something. So it's gonna actually go to something physically that would be a feature for the pool project.
The auditor had to leave, she left me a note that she would like the board to consider an MOU between the Joint Powers Authority and the county that specifies purchasing policies and authorizations and so forth before the actual funds transfer. She would work on that. So.
That's, you know, that's administrative caretaking, but I think the action, and I would move, Mr. Chairman, that we respond to the request from the Honey Lake Valley Recreation Authority and have the county control funds moved into the appropriate line items within the county treasury for the authority's use, and that the agreements or MOUs can be worked out as to how that's administered. The board did review the purchasing and those policies, that was all provided to us at the last meeting, and the JPA board had no objection to that. The only thing that we would have to do in adopting those is, there's a couple places in there where specific, you know, purchasing amounts, like if it's over $10,000 or whatever, would come to the Board of Supervisors to be approved because it's a county policy. We would substitute where it said Board of Supervisors would be the JPA board, and where it would have the county executive officer would be the executive officer of the JPA. But in terms of the actual divisions and standards and the requirements, we would mirror exactly what is done by the county.
So,
Well, it's moved, it's part of their funds rather than being, right now, it's, the pennies from the pool is a county controlled account, so it's gonna move into the JPA's control. They'll still remain as a segregated pennies for the pool, because the kids will be back with more pennies to donate. We've already been talking to them. Probably in a couple months, we'll have another visit. And there's,
So the Honey Lake Valley's gonna have two different accounts?
well, it'd be one account, but there'd be a segregation within their account of the pennies for the pool. So they have basically one account, but there'll be a, yeah, there'll be a sub-account that segregates that amount and keeps track of it. And those monies, as they've come in, as Richard has tracked where they've come from. So there's an identification as to the source of that $26,000. So that will be maintained, and any new monies that would be deposited would also be kept track of that way. So so we know who donates them. So whenever, if they wind up paying for some add-on feature, maybe a plaque would be made, say pennies for the pool, and then it'll list the people who made that donation.
there was other monies too, other than just the pennies for the pool. Kitty, wasn't there some, like,
Well, Bill's
$10,000.
million pennies, that's
right,
part of
no,
it.
yeah, and then other monies too, like there was a swim club that.
Well, that would, they donated the pennies for the pool.
Oh,
They were
they-
$5,000,
yeah,
yeah, so the 26,000, there was 10,000 from Bill that came in with his million pennies, and then the swim club put in 5,000, and then the Diamond View kids brought in, a couple thousand pennies, and each of the schools, so they're broken down. And then Susanville Supermarket, I know, has 2 or 3 more big jugs full of pennies that haven't been counted yet. See, all that gets deposited from time to time, so we'll go into that sub-account under the control of the pool.
So Jim made the motion, we're there a second.
I'll second.
So.
They need to get this done so they can start paying bills and actually start implementing what they've been talking about for the last couple of months.
So the action requested was to authorize payment of the annual contribution and transfer of pennies for the pool fund to the Honey Lake Valley Recreation Authority. And before we take action, is there any public input or comment on it?
Mr. Chairman, could I just suggest that you make that subject to the auditor's successful
Yeah, I
negotiation?
thought that was part of it, in terms of the administrative part.
Because that probably will require one more board action to approve that memorandum of understanding with the JPA.
Okay, so.
Well, I don't have a problem with it. Now, if it's the auditor's desire to slow down progress, then I'd be objectionable. But I accept that as an amendment on the proviso that it gets done like in the next week or two, and we don't take 2 or 3 months. Because the pool authority they're ready to execute some contracts for professional services to do various elements, and those contractors are going to want to be paid, so they can't be sitting there in limbo waiting, for somebody to come along. So my suggestion is that the auditor get together with you and the executive officer for the JPA and ink that out.
Okay.
And then would we be able to act on that should we put that on for the April, the special?
Well, put it on our April 8th meeting. I mean, that gives them, because they've got to get the agenda for that. That gives them until the middle of next week to get whatever paperwork they need together to be ratified. And the JPA board meets next week on the 1st, and they again meet on the 15th. So that's a reasonable time frame. But my concern is that you do that, and then 3 months from now, we keep saying, and everything's held up. So I would accept that being part of the motion, but on the premise that it be done sooner rather than later, and bring it back on the 8th for us to ratify whatever they come up with.
Quickly, Eileen Spencer, we kind of went past the public thing. We're ready to vote, but go ahead if you have something quick to add.
That's okay, I can just put it on the website. I don't think you'd like what it's gonna be.
Thank you. All right.
I mean, all the policies that the county uses for administering, for bidding, contracts, and spending and all that stuff was reviewed by the JPA, and we had no problem with it, other than the fact that there's there'd be a couple places where you'd have to change that. But that's just a matter of the policies that underwrite, who submits the claim to the auditor and how it goes through the work to be paid. That needs to be clearly defined, and that's really what the auditor is asking for, and that's not an issue.
So does the motion just stand with those instructions? Okay. All righty, so all those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Chair votes aye. There was just.
Oh,
And for the board's benefit, the city council is being sent the same letter to ask them to put their $200,000 into the same pot, so it's not just us.
Okay.
Okay, I just wanted to point out for the board's information, if you haven't, if you weren't already aware, I've pointed out to a few members of the public, the definition in the county personnel policy is the definition of county administrative officer 2.25, and I'll just read it to you, it's very short. The county's chief executive officer as appointed by the board of supervisors. And that's why I've made the statement, the two terms are currently synonymous, and that's that. The other thing is I'll be out of the county in Sacramento tomorrow, but available by cell phone and email.
Is that wrap it up?
That's all I have.
Okay. If there's no further business, we'll adjourn.
Good job.